Hi, Becky. Coach Cyril here. You asked in your 12-week hybrid challenge, check in what my fitness background is, and it takes time to text that. So here it is. This gives me something to do. Um, I played basketball in middle school and growing up as a young boy, and in high school, I made the varsity basketball team. I only played because that's the sport my dad loved. I played baseball too as a kid. So baseball, basketball, those are the two sports my dad really liked. And I played them because he liked them. And I wanted to make him proud. And then when I went out for freshman year of high school basketball, we had a very masochistic, intense coach. And for the entire, I didn't know what fitness was. I was just a kid. You play your sport. No one ever, we didn't have conditioning or weight training. We didn't know what any of that stuff was. You just went out and played the sport. Maybe you ran around a couple times and that was it back in the day. So I went to try out for the high school basketball team freshman year, and all we did for a week was went suicide sprints after school in this tiny hot gym, and half the guys quit before we even touched the basketball. Didn't even care whether they were good players or not. That just weeded out all of the week. For some reason, I kept going, but I hated that feeling. That was like the worst feeling in the world to me of that sick feeling of being out of breath and wanting to throw up and not wanting to continue because I was just so out of shape and tired when the season started. So the next year, when I was going to try out for the JV team and the varsity team, I wanted to make sure I was in shape. At the same time, my uncle, Bob, was into weight training, and I spent a lot of time at his house. And I was always fascinated by his muscle and fitness magazines. Something just made me interested in that, and I read them cover to cover. And then I got a little plastic weight set, and then I started going to Muscles Gym where I lived, and I just fell in love with weight training, and I started jogging too. I loved running, started running because I did not want to have that feeling of feeling sick when the next tryouts came, and I lifted weights, and I came back to school, and everyone looked at me like I was a different person. I was a lot bigger. I put on a ton of muscle, and people were intimidated by me, and I loved that feeling of confidence that gave me, and that's what sparked all of this fitness stuff. So I always weight trained, I always ran, and then my father-in-law got me to run a 10K, and I did that, and I loved the way that felt. So of course I had to do a half marathon and then a full marathon. The first full marathon I ran was the Dublin, Ireland marathon, where I raised money for team and training because I figured I was just going to run one marathon, and then I was going to check that off my bucket list. And if I did that, I wanted to do it somewhere fun. So my wife and I went to Ireland right after, in October of 2001, right after September 11th. It was awesome. And I ran my first marathon. And then after that, I ran like 8 other marathons, including the Boston Marathon. And then, of course, I had to get into triathlons, even though I had no business swimming or riding a bike. That was the next thing. And, like Mike, I got infatuated with that and did Ironman triathlons. And I always loved the martial arts too. So starting when I was in college, my wife and I took karate lessons. I got her to take karate, and I always was fascinated with the martial arts, like weight training. My parents wouldn't let me do it, but when I got older in college, I did it and fell in love with that. And I trained karate. I got a black belt in taekwondo, jiu-jitsu, Krav Maga, and just loved the martial arts. And then, of course, I discovered CrossFit 7 years ago, and that was just the next thing, and that's basically it. I hope that helps. Keep up the great work. Miss you guys, and we'll keep in touch. Stay safe and stay in the fight.